Hello and welcome to Daily Churchill Speeches. Today is a long one on the culture and glories of the Arab race. Here we go. Broadly speaking, there are two policies which can be adopted towards the Arab race. One is the policy of keeping them divided, of discouraging their national aspirations, of setting up administrations of local notables in each particular province or city, and exerting an influence through the jealousies of one tribe against another. That was largely, in many cases, the Turkish policy before the war, and cynical as it was, it undoubtedly achieved a certain measure of success. The other policy, and the one which I think is alone compatible with the sincere fulfillment of the pledges we gave during the war to the Arab race and to the Arab leaders, is an attempt to build up around the ancient capital of Baghdad, in a form friendly to Britain and to her allies, an Arab state which can revive and embody the old culture and glories of the Arab race, and which, at any rate, will have a full and fair opportunity of doing so if the Arab race shows itself capable of profiting by it. Of these two policies, we have definitely chosen the latter. If you are to endeavor so to shape the affairs in the sense of giving satisfaction to the Arab nationality, you will, I believe, find that the very best structure around which to build, in fact, the only structure of this kind which is available, is the house and family of following the Sheriff of Mecca. It was King Hussein who, in the crisis of the war, declared war upon the Turks and raised the Arab standard. Around that standard gathered his four capable sons, of whom the Emir Faisal and the Emir Abdullah are the two best known in this country, and many of the principal chiefs and notabilities of the Arab world. With them at our side we fought, and with their aid as a valuable auxiliary to Lord Albany, hurled at the Turks from Palestine. Both the Emir Abdullah and the Emir Faisal have great influence in Iraq among the military and also among the religious classes, both Sunni and Shia. The adherents of the Emir Faisal have sent him an invitation to go to Mesopotamia and present himself to the people and to the assembly which is soon to gather together, and King Hussein has accorded his son permission to accept the invitation. The Emir Abdullah, the elder brother, has renounced his rights and claims. I have caused the Emir Faisal to be informed, in answer to this inquiry, that no obstacle will be placed in the way of his candidature, and that he is at liberty to proceed forthwith to Mesopotamia, and that if he is chosen, he will receive the countenance and support of Great Britain. In consequence, the Emir Faisal has already left Mecca on the 12th of this month and is now on his journey to Mesopotamia, where he will arrive in about 10 days. We must see how opinion forms itself and what is the view of the National Assembly when it is elected. I cannot attempt to predict the course of events, but I do not hesitate to say that if the Emir Faisal should be acceptable to the people generally and to the Assembly, a solution will have been reached which offers, in the opinion of the highest authorities on whom I am relying, the best prospects for a happy and prosperous outcome. There has, however, lately arisen in Iraq, and particularly in the province of Basra, a considerable movement in the direction of continuing direct British rule. People always seem to want something different from what is actually being done. When we were giving them direct British rule a few years ago, they rebelled against it. Now that we offer them the Arab state, which was then demanded so ardently, there is a considerable feeling that perhaps after all British rule will be found to be most stable. It is one of the comparatively few compliments that we have been receiving in the past in this part of the world. I think it reflects very much credit upon Sir Perry Cox that in so short a time he has effected such a considerable change in the public sentiment towards us. But I can hold no hope that we shall be found willing to continue these direct responsibilities. Our object and our policy is to set up an Arab government and to make it take the responsibility, with our aid and with our guidance and with an effective measure of our support, until they are strong enough to stand alone, and so to foster the development of their independence. as to permit the steady and speedy diminution of our burden. I cannot say in regard to Mesopotamia that there are primary, direct, strategic British interests involved. The defense of India can be better conducted from her own strategic frontier. Mesopotamia is not, like Egypt, a place which, in a strategic sense, is of cardinal importance to our interest, and our policy in Mesopotamia is to reduce our commitments and to extricate ourselves from the burdens, while at the same time honorably discharging our obligations and building up a strong and effective Arab government which will always be the friend of Britain, and, I will add, the friend of France. We are leaning strongly to what I may call the Sharifian solution, both in Mesopotamia, to which the Emir Faisal is proceeding, and in Transjordania, where the Emir Abdullah is now in charge. We are also giving aid and assistance to King Hussein, the Sharif of Mecca, whose state and whose finances have been grievously affected by the interruption of the pilgrimage in which our Mohammedan countrymen are so deeply interested, and which we desire to see resumed. The repercussion of this Sharifian policy upon the other Arab chiefs must be carefully watched. In the vast deserts of Arabia, which stretch eastward and northeastward from the neighborhood of Mecca to the Persian Gulf and to the boundaries of Mesopotamia, there dwell the peoples of Najd, powerful nomadic tribes, at the head of whom the remarkable chief bin Saud remains himself. This Arab chief has long been in a state of warfare, raid, and reprisal with King Hussein and with his neighbors generally. A large number of bin Saud's followers belong to the Wahhabi sect, a form of Mohammedanism which bears, roughly speaking, the same relation to Orthodox Islam as the most militant form of Calvinism would have borne to Rome in the fiercest times of the religious wars. The Wahhabis profess a life of exceeding austerity, and what they practice themselves they rigorously enforce on others. They hold it as an article of duty, as well as of faith, to kill all who do not share their opinions, and to make slaves of their wives and their children. Women have been put to death in Wahhabi villages for simply appearing in the streets. It is a penal offense to wear a silk garment. Men have been killed for smoking a cigarette. And as for the crime of alcohol, the most energetic supporter of the temperance cause in this country falls far behind them. Austere, intolerant, well-armed, and bloodthirsty in their own religions, the Wahhabis are a distinct factor which must be taken into account, and they have been, and still are, very dangerous to the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, and to the whole institution of the pilgrimage, in which our Indian fellow subjects are so deeply concerned. The Emir bin Saud has shown himself capable of leading, and with considerable limits, of controlling these formidable sectarians.